One of the primary reasons that World Missions continues to fulfill the vision of the IFCA and our founding fathers is our complementary vision for world missions. Our motto is, the gospel is good news only if it gets there in time. Think about that. The gospel is good news only if it gets there in time. And the only way to get the gospel to those that are not saved around the world in time is if we send more and more missionaries. Now, from this premise, the following guidelines and guiding principles were created. The mission statement for the World Missions Department says this: the purpose of world missions of the International Fellowship of Christian Assemblies is to accelerate the gospel to the unreached people of the world. Our vision statement: the vision of world missions, International Fellowship of Christian Assemblies, is to develop autonomous national organizations by planting churches, sending missionaries, and affiliating indigenous churches and national pastors and national organizations. The goal of World Missions, International Fellowship of Christian Assemblies, is for each nation in which the IFCA has a ministry presence of some type to organize to become one movement that is self-governing, self-supporting, and self-propagating. The means by which we will accomplish this is to plant churches intentionally around the world while partnering with foreign pastors, churches, and Christian organizations, by equipping believers to minister through the Holy Spirit in practical ways around the world, and building churches and national organizations for effective ministry in order to touch the needs of the people in their area. To accelerate the gospel to wherever it is needed in time so that it is good news, we have developed a threefold strategy. The most important need in 2007 was for the consistent flow of information from our missionaries and foreign pastors to our IFCA churches, pastors, credential holders, and those who contribute to world missions. Information is power. Information draws us together. Information helps us be the family we are. It is so important to keep the flow of information going from our missionaries and foreign pastors to our churches, pastors, credential holders, and contributors so that they get a sense of what is happening around the world. It is amazing as people hear the reports and read the emails and other information that our missionaries send that excites them. They know that their giving is really making a difference in the parts of the world that they are supplying. It is so important that that information continue to flow, and even in greater amounts, so that people can see as the world changes, so is the ministry overseas, and that through the power of the Holy Spirit and their prayers, their giving, that people's lives are being changed, that people's welfare is increasing and their quality of life is becoming so much better. That information is critical for the advancement of the gospel to get there in time so that it is good news. To promote better communication, we now have our missionaries and foreign pastors send us reports either monthly or quarterly. Those reports are then correlated and sent as emails throughout all our entire movement to churches, all the pastors, credential holders, and those that contribute. And for those who do not have email, and yes, there are a few that today still do not have email, we send them regular mail. We desperately want our people to gain again that connection with our missionaries and foreign pastors, for them to feel like they are one of us. They're just not here. They're taking our place in a foreign country that needs to hear the gospel of Jesus Christ. And to promote further communication and interaction with our missionaries and foreign pastors, the IFCA and with the IFCA constituents, a website has been launched, www.ifcaworldimpact.com. And on that website, you will gain information as well as be able to put a name with a face so that you know more about the IFCA around the world and how large our family really is. That was the first part of our plan, our strategic plan, to increase the acceleration of the gospel where needed. Secondly, more resources were desperately needed. So immediately, we developed more readily available, ready-to-use resources to assist our churches and pastors to promote world missions. Such items as a calendar, which each month featured 2 different missionaries giving out information on them. A complete list of missionaries and foreign pastors with their contact information, both digital and regular mail. Bulletin inserts of the missionaries and foreign pastors with their picture and name superimposed on the field in which they were serving. A video presentation of all of our missionaries and national pastors, introducing them by name and their ministries to our constituency, was created and sent to each church so that they could play that for their people to get to know again our missionaries and foreign pastors who are accelerating the gospel around the world, wherever needed, to get there in time. Our missionaries needed more from the World Missions Office as well to meet their needs. And so we have sent them over the years articles that deal with encouraging them, helping them with their Bible study and continuing education, giving them suggestions and methods of raising more funds when they are here in the United States, ways of dealing with difficult people, and anyone that's in ministry knows that there are difficult people to deal with. But there's a right way, and there's a way that doesn't lead to restoration. We want these things to be resolved, so we have been helping our missionaries with articles on how to do this properly. For their continuing education and growth in the Lord and study, books have been secured underneath a new outreach developed by Reverend John Lathrop that will be sent to them, that will help them in understanding God's Word and solidifying them in their theology, giving them practical advice on how to lead a ministry. It is just as important for the World Missions Department to meet the needs of the missionaries and foreign pastors as it is to help our churches develop their World Missions Department. And I can say that we have tried very, very hard to accomplish both of these goals. Thirdly, World Missions for the first time has set goals for the future. We desire to commission one new missionary a year for 10 years. And I am glad to report that so far we have been able to do that for the past 7 years. We thank the Lord for that. In cooperation with our indigenous organizations and pastors, we want to start IFCA mission works in at least 5 countries which do not have an IFCA presence. Because of the importance of technology and this being the digital age, the possibilities of our pastors and churches connecting with our missionary and foreign pastors are far greater than ever before. And all that is needed is the proper software and technology for which we are actively seeking and have procured in some instances. There is more that we can do. And as our churches develop their own World Missions Department and become more active in missions, we know that we can overcome whatever it is that is keeping us back from even a greater footprint around the world for missions. Consider these facts. 1/2 of the world's population, 3 billion people, have never heard the gospel, not one time. 3 billion people have not heard the gospel one time. Of the 337,000 missionaries around the world, only 12,000 are serving the 3 billion who have never heard. You see, the church continues to feed the gospel to those who have heard it multiple times, while spending very little on those who have never heard it even once. In 2015, the worldwide number of births was 136 million. But worldwide salvations were only 28 million. That means that each year there are more and more and more people who do not know Christ than have come to know Christ. Approximately 54,750,000 people died last year. Of that number, 44,440,000 died in their sins. There are 6,800 languages that have no access to the Bible whatsoever. And most do not even have a single page of the Bible translated into their language. We thank the Lord for what has been done. We thank the Lord for the large missionary footprint that the IFCA has around the world. But there is so much more that our vision is driving us to do. And so the question needs to be asked, what is in store for world missions in the future in light of the IFCA's vision to accelerate the gospel wherever needed? World Vision has feeding programs with the access to abundance of food that can be partnered with those missionaries and foreign pastors who have feeding programs so they can expand their feeding program. They also have access to farm animals, which are so important for the daily nutrition of those in poorer countries. So now the IFCA, our pastors and church credential holders, contributors, could buy a cow and have it sent to one of our missionaries who would then give it to a farmer so that they could have milk and distribute it throughout those that are being ministered to. That they would be able then to have food when that cow has grown older. You see, there's a lot of things that now are opened up to us. We can have wells dug for our missionaries and foreign pastors that are so important in underdeveloped countries to get fresh, clean water. And they can use that as an opportunity to share the gospel of Jesus Christ. This is a tremendous opportunity as we tap into these different organizations and partner with them. I think of World Missions Audio that provides the Bible in many, many different languages on a digital recorder. We can have those sent to one of our missionaries, and as they have their crusades in the outer parts in the bush and know that they're not going to be back for a while, they can hand out these digital recorders so that the people can hear the Bible spoken in their own language. That is tremendous. Now, it's a win-win situation because as these organizations open up the relationship with us so that we can now, through them, provide for our missionaries, we also will provide for these organizations, our churches, where they can come and share their ministry and be blessed. So it is a win-win situation that we are seeking, and we are looking forward to the time when this will be a reality. We envision pastors doing their service using the technology and software of FaceTime, Skype, Zoom, and other such software to interview and interact with our missionaries and foreign pastors. Can you imagine what that will be like when the pastor says, and now we want to welcome Brother Kamanapali, Brother Doug, Sister Nancy Hudson, Brother Tiazi, Brother Saganoan, all from different parts of the world to come into the service at that moment. The interview, the questions and answers, just seeing them in their environment will bring about a new excitement, a new dynamic, a new dimension to people when they think about foreign missions. It'll almost like being there. But what a great opportunity for that to happen. We envision more churches doing their own missions trip. It's one thing for a missionary to come or foreign pastor and speak about what God is doing, and you can catch a lot of it from the excitement that they bring, but it's a totally different thing when you go and see it for yourself. One of the men in my church, when he went on his first mission trip to Honduras, sat in my office and he just talked and talked and talked and talked, and I had not seen him this excited about missions in a long time. And finally he looked at me and said, "Pastor, you've tried telling us what it was like from your trips, but now I know because I've been there. And the man has never been the same." One of the best ways to change a church and to see it change, not only for world missions, but the way they view the city that they are in and the area that God has placed them in and made them responsible for, is to send them on a missions trip. I guarantee those people will never be the same, and neither will your church. But what about those churches that don't have enough people to send on a trip? Our goal is to develop church teams where different churches can send 1, 2, 3 people on a missions trip who will gather together just prior to that trip, have some training, and then go off and minister with one of our missionaries or foreign pastors. You see, you don't need, as a church, to do your own. With this new ministry, your church can be involved in a very personal way by sending 1, 2, or 3, and now we've multiplied the effect of missions trip. The missionary or foreign pastor will be blessed. Their people will be blessed. You don't understand how much people around the world really look forward to meeting and engaging Americans. It is really humbling. It truly is. It's overwhelming. But your people will be changed as well. And now more churches will have the advantage of having a team go on a missions trip. To assist those churches that may find it very difficult to support world missions, we are investigating what I call the STEP program. Now this is a very simple concept. To have a church take on a project might be $50 and use one of the organizations like World Missions or Compassion, World Missions Audio, one of those that I had spoken of earlier, who would help us provide these types of items that we do not have access to. Any size church, no matter how small, over a year could raise $50 towards a project. The next year, we would encourage them to raise $75 for a project. The following year, $100. And in increments, build the churches up until they realize we can give a monthly amount to our missionaries and foreign pastors. What a great way to begin to train people to give to missions. We are very excited about that and look forward to that. We also know that it's important for our missionaries and foreign pastors to come together in a conference so that those bonds can be strengthened and new friendships be made to where they can share with one another what they see the Spirit doing in their areas and how the Spirit may be leading them to minister, which can meet a need someplace else. It is a great opportunity to get them all together for a time of refreshment, for a time of speaking into their lives. Let them relax. Let them be reinvigorated, to be sent back with renewed vision, with renewed strength, with renewed passion, with renewed drive, with a new clarity of what the Lord has for them. And so we are looking to create a world conference every 5 years to bring this to pass. We also will be stressing once again the faith promise principle. Mark chapter 16 says that these signs will follow those who believe. But the Lord before that said these words, "Go and make disciples of all nations." As we go, God's provisions follow. And that's the basis of faith promise. To seek the Lord for an amount that we know we cannot afford. Faith promise is not based on budgeting. It's based on faith. And God will always give you a number that's more than what you can afford. Why? Because it takes faith. It's the way of growing our faith. And you will find that when you make the faith promise according to what the Lord has given, that He indeed will supply in a variety of ways that you never, ever would have imagined. My wife and I have experienced this firsthand, especially in the last month, and I can tell you it works. To help our movement visualize the scope of our missionary footprint around the world, we are seeking to publish a map of the world highlighting all the countries in which we have an IFCA missions work and superimposing on the countries that we have work the picture and the names of the missionary and foreign pastors. It will be breathtaking to see what the Lord has done through our movement since its inception in 1907. He has been so faithful and gracious, and we are looking forward to having a map so that all of our churches and credential holders, contributors, can see where their efforts and their prayers, their finances, their resources have been going and how it is spreading around the world. Again, we are driven to accelerate the gospel wherever needed and to get it there in time so that it is good news. Now we understand that each year the map will become obsolete, but that's good because that shows that we are growing and that even our missionaries and foreign pastors in the recent past, in the last 4 or 5 years, have been reaching out to countries beyond where they are. Our missionaries in Australia have reached out to Burma. Our missionaries in Argentina have reached out to Cuba. Our missionary and national pastors in India have reached into Pakistan and into Kuwait. You see, God is growing the IFCA, and the map will be a constant reminder of the blessings of the Lord. And as we continue to give more to world missions and become more involved in world missions in our local churches, we will see that our footprint will continue to grow and grow and grow, giving us the assurance that we are indeed fulfilling the vision to accelerate the gospel to wherever the gospel is needed. Because there are so many who have not heard the gospel in time, we are seeking to network with approximately 12 more countries in the 1040 window where the IFCA has no missions work. 60% of those who have never heard the gospel one time are in the 1040 window. It's an amazing opportunity. We are very thankful that we have a church planter who goes into these some of these countries and trains those in the Great Commission way to hold rallies and teaches them evangelistic approaches and how to share the gospel. And we've heard great reports. But we want to see an even greater footprint in that 1040 window where 60% of the world lives, and most of the 3 billion people who have not heard the gospel one time.